Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody. The podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to positively transform the communities they serve. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today we have two really fun and really special guests on, and I've been looking forward to this segment for quite a while. So we have Nate Ferguson, who is the Senior Director of Signature Events and Operations, and as well for the V Foundation, as well as Jamie Valvano, who is a professional speaker, cancer thriver, and daughter of the V Foundation's founder, Jim Valvano. And they have, over the years, raised nearly $500 million for cancer research grants, all through, through top institutions all throughout the world. So I am so excited to be talking not just about that, but also their biggest signature fundraising event of the year, which is their Napa Wine Celebration. And they do various Epicurean events throughout the United States, and we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit more deeply today. But these are two really seasoned pros, and I'm just so thrilled and so honored to have them both here today. So with that, Jamie, Nate, welcome. I'm just so excited to chat with you both today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Rob.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, share what the mission of the V Foundation is.
Well, quite simply, I think it's to find a cure for cancer. I mean, that really was my dad's last and final vision was to kind of use his voice. And he really wanted to support just cutting edge cancer research. And so that's where our funding goes. And it's been amazing since its inception that they have carried on my dad's legacy beautifully, perfectly, and been able to share that message with so many people throughout the country.
Absolutely. So, and it's a beautiful and it's an important mission, especially in honor of your dad. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But talk about, because it's unique how the V Foundation was founded, how it's formed, and kind of how it's structured. So, talk a little bit about the founding of the foundation, and kind of how that all came to be.
It's it's an amazing story. If I had not witnessed it, I actually wouldn't believe it. But when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, he was given a year to live, less than a year. He was diagnosed with adenocarcinoma and it had already spread everywhere. And he was working at ESPN as a color commentator as well as ABC. And he really wanted to use his final months to kind of share what it was like being a cancer patient, as well as just kind of celebrate his life and all that sports had given him. You know, as a basketball coach, his ultimate victory was when he cut down the nets after winning a national championship in 1983. And because of that, so many opportunities had come in the sports community and, all over the world, things that he was able to do. And so upon his diagnosis, I remember him coming home and almost immediately he sat down with a piece of paper. He had always been somebody who had been a visionary and he had always really intentionally lived his life working towards his ultimate victories. And so he wrote down, I remember on a piece of paper, find a cure for cancer. And then he started actually writing down names of individuals that he wanted to invite to be a part of his team. And, I remember as a coach, that's what he did every year was he recruited talented individuals and he said, would you come to be on my team, use your gifts and talents so that together we can accomplish what we couldn't do alone. And so as a coach, he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to envision that victory is to find a cure for cancer. And then I'm going to select this amazing team. And I remember thinking at the time I was 20 years old. And I thought, what does he think he's going to do with 1 year left to live? And yet I watched him as his body grew weaker, his spirit seemed to take flight. And he, with the help of ESPN, he established the V Foundation for Cancer Research. And during his final days, he was working with some young researchers at Duke Cancer Center that wanted to do some trials, some things that he was at the end of his life, and they thought, could we try this or this, and hopefully learn something and prolong your life. And so we were in the hospital, and he was meeting with a young doctor, a young researcher, and when that doctor left the room, he said, that's where I want the funding to go. I want it to go to this young underdog researcher who is trying to find some breakthrough that is going to give hope to other people and that is going to save lives. And so, really, that's what he did. He assembled a team. He asked people like Coach Mike Krzyzewski from Duke University, who he had coached against so many years, and Dick Vitale from ESPN. And the heads of ESPN were so gracious, and they said, we're going to use our resources and our voice to really strengthen this mission. And he asked doctors from all over the country to be on our scientific review committee, and people from business and sports and law and entertainment, and I can't even believe it. I mean, everybody said yes because they wanted to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so, that really was how the beginning of the V Foundation started. And a day doesn't go by that I am not in complete awe of the work that they are doing. When you said $500 million donated to research, and 100%, every dollar that you give the V Foundation goes directly to research. Not many charities can say that, we are doing what our founder wanted us to do, but we're doing it in the right way. And so, as a daughter, I am so proud of the work that the V Foundation does. But as we're going to talk about probably later, touch on, but as a cancer survivor, I'm absolutely beyond grateful to know that there are victories every single day in hospitals all over the country, and hope is being provided to those individuals that, hear that word that they have cancer and they know that they're not alone.
Yeah, and cancer really is one of those things. It literally, there isn't a human being on the planet that's not touched by it, whether it happens to them or somebody they love. It really is one of the
Absolutely.
very few, sadly, one of the very few universal conditions that pretty much any human being can understand. And I want to touch on something that you had mentioned about, all the proceeds going directly to cancer research. And that's largely in part to the endowment, if I understand correctly, that set that up. So basically, the endowment allows the organization to basically be underwritten by that, and then any event you host, then
Mhm.
all the proceeds go directly to the foundation. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's accurate. We had an endowment set up many, many years ago that's been handling all the administrative costs that go along with our events, with our organization as a whole. That does allow us to say that we donate 100% of donations to go directly to this game-changing cancer research.
Fantastic, because I know that there were some people listening that were like, well, how does that work? So, I really wanted to make sure that everyone was like, oh, that's how it works. That's how that happens. So, the endowment being a key piece of that. And Jamie, I want to direct that, question back to you about the founding and the forming. And that is, what advice would you give to someone looking to set up a foundation in honor of somebody that they love that's, either may not have long to live or is no longer here?
Well, I think that I mentioned the team aspect. My dad was a basketball coach. I mean, I call him a Renaissance man because he loved everything. He loved reading and art, and people don't know he was an English major. And so he had such a zest for life and knowledge and information. But what he recognized is that he did not know how to start an organization. He didn't know how to fund cancer research. He didn't know everything about nonprofits, about, how the government funds research, and how essential it is to have these charities. And so rather than just, I know a lot of people who obviously have a desire to honor their loved ones. And also, if they have a voice, they might be well known in their industry. And so they think, hey, I can lend my name and we're going to just go out there and raise money. And oftentimes they really don't have the knowledge base that they need in order to do everything that is really essential to organizing a successful charity. And so I think what I would say is it's that team aspect. It's that idea of, number one, what is our mission? What are we trying to do? Because if we're just trying to have an event or a party or spread awareness, then absolutely, just have that big gala. But what, are you trying to fund research? Where do you want the money to go? Do you want to help patients? Is it going to stay in your community? There's so many questions that need to be, asked and answered first. and for you to kind of seek help and ask for guidance from those people who know. We would not be where we are today if it wasn't for Nate and everybody at the V Foundation and the people on our board and the people on our scientific review committee. So I would ask people to harness that emotion and that spirit that they have to honor their loved ones, and to help, everyone who's affected by, any disease or any issue that they're dealing with. But most importantly, to kind of harness that and that spirit and that energy to really find out and figure out what is it we want to do and who do I need to go to get help, in order for that to be accomplished. The V Foundation has been around for, over 30 years. So this isn't something that just happened overnight. We were really fortunate to have unbelievable partners that walked alongside of us and helped us get to where we are today.
And I'm glad you also mentioned the piece about the team and your
Yeah,
father being a visionary, because I think what people miss about visionaries is I think there's a perception out there that visionaries just do everything all by themselves. But
sure.
the thing is, a visionary brings in people who, because as you said, your father didn't know so much about nonprofits. So he brought people and a team around him to make sure and ensure that it would steward and that it would be around and his legacy would be almost 35 years later, still, being carried on through this. And that's in large part because he saw it's not just going to be me. I've got to bring in other people when I'm not here, but also people who really know what they're doing to make
Yes.
that stick.
Yeah. And I think Nate would agree the partners that we have are just extraordinary.
They're exceptional. And Jamie, I always get goosebumps when you tell that story too, because I think
Yeah.
about like how his vision is still continuing on. And there's so many people that were involved on day one or pre-day one that are still involved now and still are excited and bringing people into the fold so many years later.
Yeah, I had a conversation recently to celebrate myself being a 20-year cancer survivor. I asked the B Foundation if I could sit down with some of our founding members and have a conversation with them. And one of the things I asked them was, why are you still doing what you're doing? So, it's one thing to serve on a board or to support a charity or come to an event one year and say, well, that was good. I feel good about myself for giving my time. But these people have been around for over 30 years, still doing it every single year and coming to meetings and supporting and taking their time and energies. And I remember I asked Mike Krzyzewski, I said, why are you still doing this? Because you're a pretty successful individual, and I think you've proven yourself to be worthy, and you could just kind of coast into retirement now. And he said something that just took my breath away. And he said, because I gave your dad my word.
Wow.
And I looked at him and I thought, wow. Um, so that speaks even more importantly to the team, but also asking people that I call MVPs, your most valuable players. I don't know many people in my life that if I asked them to do something would still be doing it 30 years later. And so I think it speaks to the quality of the individuals that are on our team, how passionate they are and dedicated they are, but also because they see that we're having an impact. And I think that's what keeps charities and events and communities continuing to support. It's because they say, okay, wow, we're really making a difference. And so I just think that that's really sets the V Foundation apart, from a lot of organizations, is that it's people. It's all about the people that keeps us doing what we're doing.
That's absolutely true. And, the people part of it also kind of extends to your fundraising events. And what
Mhm.
I admire about your organization is you do several. I will say 8 markets because I know the people in Napa and Sonoma think they're different planets and we're going to keep it that way. So you all are in 8 different markets, and that's happened over time. It wasn't like you started in 1993 and did 8 galas. It's kind of happened organically over the years. And Nate, I want to address this next question to you. So basically what you all do, and I had the privilege of going to the first one in Austin this past year, you host these just beautifully curated, delicious, with wonderful wines, these wine and epicurean events all around the United States. So talk about, how the V Foundation decides I'm going to plant roots in certain markets? Because, it was interesting because I've had a couple people in Texas be like, what was it about Austin and not Houston and Dallas? Because, there's world-class medical facilities in all three of the cities in San Antonio too. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you all plant those roots.
Yeah, of course. So our Napa Wine Celebration is really our cornerstone event. It started in 1999 and is about to celebrate 30 years here soon. But that's really what's grown from a $400,000 first year event to now raising well over $12 million consistently every single year, and has raised about $180 million that goes directly to game-changing cancer research over the past 25 plus years. But with that, in the past couple of years, we've decided to take our Epicurean model on the road and are looking for other markets and cities. And we have a lot of things that go into why we choose a different market. First and foremost, we want to choose one that's known for its philanthropy, and that we have a donor base kind of already built in, so that we have a nucleus of people that we can go to. We can have connections there already that know the city. I like to think I'm an expert on some cities, but I will be honest, Austin was not one of them before I kind of jumped in. So I use some people that are there to really get to know the city well and get to make sure that we know our vendors the best as well.
Mhm.
Then I'll also say we do look at other events in the area too. We want to enhance the market. We don't want to cannibalize on the other charities that are there. We all can be successful in these markets, so we don't want to cannibalize. We want to make sure that we're all being successful in this market. We're coming in with a unique perspective. I will say, kind of lastly, and one of the most fun is just a market that will be fun too. A
Yeah.
market that might be excited about sports, since that's such a big part of what we do. A market that has great restaurants and bars, and that there's excitement around those. Has some luxury venues. You talked about it with the Four Seasons a little bit in Austin, and ACL, where we just have these great venue partners that we're able to create these consistent events throughout other markets to make sure they're elevated as they are in Napa for the past 25 plus years, so that we can form these connections in the future. And really, we have been successful, and we'll continue to look to raise these funds. So in Booyah, we launched that in 2021 in New York City, and that's raised about $11.3 million that goes to the Stuart Scott Memorial Fund, which addresses disparities in cancer research and patient outcomes. Sonoma, we launched in 2022, which has raised $13 million over these years. Chicago, we launched in 2024, which is $3.1 million with Coach K and some other notable Chicago connected celebrities. And then last year, we announced DC, Austin, and Phoenix coming up, and more in the future. So it's just an exciting time to continue to launch these awesome events that have great impacts on the cancer research.
And the
Well,
other thing I want to add, Nate, is that um, you all do a great job. The V Foundation does a great job of pulling in our researchers from the area and really educating the community about what is being done in their backyard. I love that. That's always a component of every one of the Epicureans is to have researchers there to present, to talk to the guests that are there at some type of, not at the gala, but at some point during the weekend. And I love that because, as you mentioned, there's so much that's going on in Texas and in California and funding. And so I feel like the scholars become the stars of the weekend. Everybody
They
wants to
do.
talk to them.
Everyone wants to talk to them. Everyone wants to talk to them about their research. Everyone wants to get pictures with
Exactly.
them. It's great.
Exactly. So I think that also elevates it is to really to drive home why we're there, to have that tangible, this is what you're funding, this is what it's doing, here's the breakthroughs. I love that that's part of the weekends or the events as well.
Well, and that's a brilliant strategy because I've noticed it since COVID. People are much more specific. They want to know where their money's going much more now. And what's so brilliant is that because you do it over a period of a couple of days, the donors get a chance to actually connect with the researchers and they get, okay, my funds will help this innovation. And they're able to kind of connect and specifically ask them questions. I think that's what's unique
Hmm.
about multi-day events in particular when they're done well like yours are, is it really allows to forge that connection so that by the time the gala comes at the end, people are raising their paddles. They're probably raising it at a higher
Yes.
level than they probably thought they
Yes.
would when they were coming in. And it
Hmm.
just allows you to multiply and amplify your impact.
Yes. Absolutely. And I always pinch myself when I go to our events because once again, it made sense to have basketball related events and things with ESPN, but I never imagined when I go to these beautiful vineyards and these locations and meet all of these chefs and restaurants and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, my dad would be loving this. He would be celebrating and cheering and raising his glass." Because it's just what I've noticed is that year after year, as the same people come together and as they grow, especially obviously in Napa, because it's been so long, it's like a family, it's a community. These people look forward to coming. And now that they're growing into different cities, we have guests that are coming and attendees to many different locations because it's so fun. They're having a good time as well, and they're seeing new cities and they become like family. So it's a big celebration on top of everything.
Yeah, it has the reunion feel to it is
Yes.
is absolutely what we have, especially the Napa Wine
Yes.
Celebration. And that's what we want the other ones to get to as well, is that everyone looks forward to it. Everyone has their calendar marked. Oh, we absolutely need to be at the Chicago Epicurean or the Austin Epicurean because we know we're going to have a great time. We're going to raise incredible money for cancer research, and there's going to be amazing people that are there as well.
Absolutely.
Well, and I love the way that you all explain that, especially with determining the markets and how people kind of go from gala to gala. And that's what I noticed when I walked in was I was like, okay, there's people kind of from all over the country here, but it still felt like Austin. You picked the perfect venue in ACL to do that. So Nate, talk about, because the events do draw, folks from all over the US and your organization is a nationally based organization. How do you all create a local feel at your events while still catering kind of to that national, both that national audience, but also your national mission?
Yeah, of course. So we kind of have a formula for our signature events, but I wouldn't say any of them are cookie cutter by any means. We're flexible as it comes to every single destination. And as we're growing these events, we are still continuing to look to see what makes sense for these markets. So we do quite a few different things to really have that local feel. As Jamie talked about too, we like to get the local researchers involved. We really feel like that has a great impact for people giving, is when they're like, and when they know, oh, this person from Chicago is doing this incredible work, I want to donate. So I'm supporting my local community as well when it comes to that. So drawing from local researchers is absolutely one of the key things we do. I'll also say a lot of times when we have hosts or regional honorees, that helps provide excitement. So they might have a tie to cancer or our foundation or have their personal story that goes along with it. But people that are able to kind of talk to the community that they're well known, maybe regional, maybe even nationally too, really helps create that local flair. And then we try to have some of the best restaurants and chef partners as well in all of our events and try to be kind of known where the hot spots are or the recent award winners to make sure that people are getting the best of the best in each of these destinations and something that they might not be able to experience otherwise. In Austin, for example, one of our experiences was the ATX Casino with Chef Kevin Taylor. And they have a totally gluten-free, nut oil-free restaurant and get some of their ingredients from some of the best places in Mexico from farms. And people were able to connect with him, hear his philosophy, and have a cooking demonstration with that. So we really do try to kind of have that local flair when it comes to all of this too. And then when it just comes to the Napa Wine Celebration too, we've been there for so long. We have great inroads with so many of these vintners. So Nickel and Nickel has been one of our partners for about 20 years for our gala. We also do talking about some of these honorees. We have a vintner research grant that we name a grant after about for a vintner that's been especially supportive of the V Foundation. And so that's grown over the last couple of years to really kind of have excitement and appreciation still for the vintner community and to build excitement for some of these local events as well.
Well, and what I love about that is, I'm glad you addressed, the local feel of it. And ATX Cochina is one of the most popular restaurants in Austin and has been for quite a while. But I also love that you were talking about, creating long-standing, because creating a 20-year partnership is a difficult thing, to do successfully. But what I also like is that you are acknowledging their support by creating grants in their name. So, in addition to that, what are some keys to creating strong partnerships with top food destinations and meters? Because, I literally have a post on my website about how chef packages are the Birkin bags of live auctions because they really kind of are right now. So talk about how you create that to draw those people in.
Of
Mhm.
course. So we try to find things that are mutually beneficial. We really like to find these partnerships that are true partnerships and relationships that go along with it. We don't like to be transactional with our venues or our vendors or the restaurants or anything like that. We feel like we're bringing some incredible people and connecting some incredible people in the market that will be excited for some of these venues, that will experience it and come back and tell people about the great experience that they had there, to really help elevate their experience as well. I'll also say we do look at other ways to continue the partnership outside of just that weekend. So one of the things we do is warming events. So they're kind of smaller events that we have to get people to know more about the V Foundation in different markets, so that the first time they're hearing about the V Foundation isn't just that weekend, but that there was kind of a smaller, intimate event. So we try to get our partners involved in that in those markets as well, and to try to get people excited about a restaurant or a chef that they'll get to experience there. So, for example, in Phoenix, last year we had a warming event with Chef, James Beard Award winner Chef Christopher Gross, and he did all the catering and talked a little bit at the event. And there's going to be an epicurean experience at the Phoenix event in April featuring him. So people really are able to get that experience and get to know him a little bit better and get excited about that. So that helps him out, that helps us out, that helps everyone out. So really looking at these mutually beneficial agreements really help strengthen these partnerships so that people do want to be involved with us long term.
Yeah, and you mentioned already, Rob, that it unfortunately, I think also the people that I meet when I go to different events is they always have a personal story of why they're supporting cancer research. And I think that that's, I'll go and I'll meet someone and they'll pull me aside and tell me a story about their parent or a friend or a loved one and, just how it's affected their life. And so I think that, as Nate said, that you become true partners in the mission of what you're doing. And so it sometimes goes beyond just the event, but it's, they really become part of the team.
Well, and I want to follow up with that question with or what you just said, Jamie, with a question because I will say, and I've been going to galas for a long, long time. Your keynote was, I mean, when people say what's an effective keynote, like in 15 years, yours is one of them, and I'll be saying it 15 years from now.
Oh,
It was so effective. It was from the heart. It was personal. It incorporated the history of the organization. There were clips of your, I mean, it was really so well done. And I know you're a speaker, and I was just like, okay, I get why you are a motivational speaker because you have an authenticity and ability to connect. And you know, what I have found is a lot of organizations, especially for galas, can struggle with finding the right keynote and
mhm.
finding the right keynote speaker. So, what advice would you give to an organization looking to select a keynote or a guest speaker for a fundraising event?
Yeah, I mean, I think thank you, first of all. I'm going to get choked up here because I hope you saw that the emotion, was real and was authentic because it is not I'm not performing. And people will say to me sometimes, well, I didn't see a teleprompter. And I said, well, it's my life story. It's who I am. 13 years after my dad was diagnosed, unfortunately, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 33, and I found out that I had a genetic mutation that I had inherited from my dad. And so I really it became different than just watching a loved one, but I actually was the patient. And what I love to share at our events is that I'm alive today because of cancer research, because they did not know my dad had this gene because it had not even been discovered. So it was only through 13 years of cancer research, them discovering this gene, then my doctors could change my course of treatment. And now, I'm a 20-year survivor. So what I want to say is, first of all, to anyone giving a keynote or a speaker is, talk about what you know and really what makes you who you are. And I think you're being invited to share. It is an honor and a privilege to use your voice to, share in someone's vision and to come alongside them as a partner. And so it really behooves you, and it's important to get to know that organization you're speaking for. What is their mission? How can you support them, and how can you merge your story with what they're trying to accomplish? And so for me, I always think to myself, what sitting in an audience, they are attending an event, what would I want to know about that organization and their story and their history? And as you said, make it personal. I mean, nobody wants to sit and listen to facts and figures and, we want there to be humor and to be laughter and there to be, as my dad said, every day we should laugh, think, and cry. And those are the three things we need to live a heck of a day. And I think all of our events do a really good job of doing that. We have people that are funny and we have laughter, and then we're moved to tears. And, I just think that is a privilege for me to be able to share my story. So I don't ever look at one of my speeches as, okay, well, it's my job to entertain, or it's my job to raise money. The way I look at it is, it's, what I'm there for is to just share an experience with everybody that's there, hopefully make a connection, and to give, just to plant a seed in each and every person that's there, to give them some hope and encouragement and love and joy. And really, I'm the one that's blessed by the experience. Every single time I leave an event, somebody tells me a story about how cancer has touched their lives, or how they see themselves in my story, whether it's being a mother or a cancer survivor or watching a loved one. And that's how I know I've done a good job, because I've somehow mirrored just the human experience that we all have, together. That's what we have in common. And so I want to be relatable, and I want, for you to see yourself in what I'm sharing. And so, I think that you can only do that when you are truly authentic, and when you really know well, in my case, the client or the organization or the nonprofit, whoever you're speaking for and with, that, you come alongside them and you say, I'm here for you. When I go, I'm here for the V Foundation. It's not about Jamie Valvano. It's about the mission of the V Foundation and how I can support your efforts. And so, that's why I'm so lucky to get to work with people like Nate, who are so clear on what we're trying to accomplish. And so they allow me to tell my story and lend my voice to reach other people.
That was just so beautifully said. And it's amazing. That was the part that really got to me when I was listening to you talk, listening to you share your story in your keynote, was that basically your father set this thing up and it saved your life. And it's just like, it was just like, there's very few, because I go to so many of these, there's very few where I'm like literally like I'm crying myself.
Kidding
And
me.
that was one of those, because I was just like, wow. I mean, it was just like that, what a legacy. And the fact that you are still there 20 years after that,
Mhm.
still paying it forward. I mean, that's just, there is no faking that. Like, you have to really believe that. But I want to touch on something you said about about speaking. It actually leads into my next question for Nate, and that is hope. And the thing is that, whether it's a program video or whether it's a keynote, people have to be hopeful when
Mhm.
you're going into the auction. Because if you make it depressing, no one is going to raise their paddles and no one is going to give. And I've seen organizations fall into that trap. It's like there has to be light
Yeah.
at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So Nate, I want to talk about, because your auction packages and your paddles up was very, very well done. The packages were out,
Yeah.
really, really outstanding. And really, Austin does lots of live auctions. I would say nearly every package was not one I'd ever seen before. So talk about the keys to hosting a successful live auction with really top packages that are going to move the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that you touched on it immediately right away with kind of looking at the run of show too, going from Jamie with the hope and like just getting people feeling emotion, but also excitement about like, okay, we're all in this together. Let's create and donate funds to this game-changing cancer research. And then so people were excited. People were ready to start raising their hands and raising their paddles for these incredible auction items. So a couple things that we do to really make a successful auction, we tease that we don't have it just be that night. We tease the items before. We think about people that might not be in the room but might want to bid and say, "Hey, can we put a proxy paddle together for you so that they can bid and get excitement behind it?" We also very much look at the energy from the auctioneer and the reader. We have some very loyal auctioneers that like to follow us around and that we like to have follow us around because they know the mission that we're trying to get towards. They know some people in the room, and they know how to really help people raise those paddles. We also do like to have people in the room that are part of the auction lots. What we had in Austin, we had R.C. Buford from the Spurs. As part of an auction lot. So he can absolutely talk about that auction lot and get people excited. We did something similar in Sonoma with Russell Wilson and Sierra, where they donated three surprise auction lots that went directly to the V Foundation. In terms of the lots as they are too. We look for things that have connection to the area. They'll get people excited. A lot of our wineries like to donate some cases of wine too for some of these that are multifaceted that go along with it. That go along with it too. Not just one thing, but something that kind of builds on itself and something that they might only be able to get by attending this auction and not anywhere else. So really, it's kind of these just excitement around these lots that help people raise money that leads into the fund to need and just a really successful, exciting event.
That's amazing. And would you be able to elaborate for anyone who's not familiar with it, the concept of a proxy paddle and kind of how that works and how you make that work within the event?
Of course. So for a proxy paddle, what we do is someone that might not be able to be in the room, but someone that might be excited about a certain event or auction paddle, they'll give us the opportunity to bid up to a certain amount on the proxy paddle. So that will allow us to still have people bid on something, even if they're not in the room, just knowing that they'll bid up to a certain amount.
So Nate, I actually got to do that at Austin. And
Okay.
I was a nervous wreck because I was responsible for somebody else. They weren't in the room and I got the paddle and I had my paddle on the side and I thought, okay, and then I'm looking to make sure I have the right lot number and the person who had written down the lot number, I couldn't tell if it was a two or a four. I was like, this is too much pressure. Can't do it. But it was so fun. It was so
Mhm.
fun because, as you said, it was getting the excitement there that I was able to participate, even if I wasn't bidding for myself. So I can attest to the fact that it was awesome.
Which one were you bidding on?
I don't even remember. I don't remember, but I remember I did not get the actual lot
Ah,
because I only could bid to a certain amount, but I
uh-huh.
almost lost my head and kept going because I thought, this was, and I was like, wait a minute, I know I can only bid until this amount, but I was so excited that I felt like I had done a poor job for my person that I was proxying for.
They should have done more then. They should have done more.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh my God, that is, I mean, that's so cool. And that just kind of goes to show you can bring people from outside of the room into the room if they can't be
Absolutely.
there. And especially, for events that you have that, are all around the country, that's a pretty sophisticated crowd, which means they can't be in two cities at one time. So I love that you are leaning in and understanding your audience and doing that. And I kind of want to dive into, this is obviously the culmination of 2 days. And I'm going to ask this question first to Nate, and then Jamie, I'm going to put a spin on it for you, and I'll ask it in a different way. But what advice would you give Nate in managing a multi-day event to an organization?
Yeah, so I would say don't expect for everything to go completely as you planned. Don't expect for
Amen.
everything to go perfectly. Something's going to go wrong, and that's okay. It's just how you fix it and how you roll with the punches and go for that. I get a lot of people asking me like, "So are you stressed right now?" I'm like, no, I'm not stressed at all right now. Something's going to go wrong, and we're going to fix it. We've connected with the best venues, the best vendors, the best audience, the best people that we know that we're going to be able to fix it no matter what happens. I will say one of the ones that's happened recently at one of our warming events that we did in Martha's Vineyard, there was a hurricane that was coming through. So we just had to. I couldn't fix a hurricane. There were people on the island already. So we just had to kind of roll with the punches and go from there. So that's what I would say, and that also means surround yourself with the best people. Uh, Develop a team of strong colleagues that you trust. Because I can't be everywhere at once at these things, so I need to be able to trust that I've put the right people in place and plan the best that I possibly can to really make sure that everyone is in the place that they can be to make sure that we have a awesome event by the end of the weekend.
But don't you think, Nate, on the flip side, be prepared that something magical can happen at any moment? Because there's sometimes you plan something and then you sit back and you're like, oh my goodness, it's, the a certain people come, or, one of the things I always think about that's so exciting is when you are having the live auction and two people are bidding on something, and then the person, as you said, Nate, that's there, that is the host, will say, well, we'll just do two. How about two? And then like two people are going and, well, okay, I'll throw in a third, lot of that. And this magic happens that I don't think as an event planner, you don't know that it just happens. It's just
Mhm.
this unbelievable thing that can happen at events, and people step up, and it's just that's what I love about the events that you plan, is that there's just something that's going to happen that's going to take your breath away.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go with it. Just
Yes.
if something magical happened, just go with it.
Yeah.
Because I know as a type A planner, sometimes like
Yes.
we plan this. This is the run of show. It's like no, let's keep going with this. This is an incredible moment, and those are some of the times that we have the best moments too.
Yep. That's the fun in fundraising.
It is the fun and fundraising. And well, and the best moments are I've always consistently found there to be unplanned ones.
Yes.
And they're and something that goes sideways, it goes sideways a little and it becomes great. You don't want sideways and off a cliff,
Yes.
but something can go sideways and you're still on level ground. And those tend to be the best moments, people. So just because it didn't go perfectly, and I'm thankful that Nate didn't have a devil that wears Prada moment where they insisted on doing the Martha Dominion event during a hurricane because there was literally a
Well,
scene in the original movie with that.
well, we still did it. We
You
still did.
did? Okay, so
It
you
was
did do the Devil Wears Prada moment.
We did, yeah, we did, and it was an awesome event. It was a little windy. We had to move it inside, but we still did it. That ferry ride over to the vineyard was a little bumpy, but other than that, it was great.
Oh my God, I love that. All right. Now, Jamie, I promise I wanted to ask the question about multi-day with a twist. And for you, it's, you're the daughter of the founder. You are doing a keynote at the end, and you have to have energy for the keynote at the end of the second day. And there's a lot because people are coming up to you. They're sharing stories about your father. They're talking about how cancer,
Mhm.
has impacted their family, and you've got to be present
Mhm.
for all of it. So how do you manage your energy so that you are making sure that you're staying present and that you're able to deliver that keynote, at the end of 2 days? Because I mean that really is an impressive feat.
Oh, I think from the minute I get to an event and I walk out and I see, in Austin especially, I remember getting to the venue and there were just pictures of my dad everywhere and there were quotes everywhere. And, there might be a car, at Napa where his face is on the side of it. And honestly, it's, he's with me every step of the way. And I really feel his energy and his spirit and everything that the V Foundation does. And the team at the organization does such an amazing job of, first of all, taking care of every attendee, not just me, but you get there and
Yeah.
you just feel like, wow, this is amazing. And then, being just a part of it, obviously I'm, unlike Nate, I'm not in charge of running it. So I get to enjoy and to relax and be a spectator and, just soak in the area and the people, and oh gosh, the hosts, everybody that's there, that is at the restaurants or donating their time, they just make us feel so welcome to their city. So it's really not hard. I'm not going to even pretend that it's a hardship on my part. It is emotional, but it's almost like a huge celebration and getting to meet all of these wonderful individuals and getting to know a new community. Every single one of our events has a different flavor to it, depending upon where it is. And so, every time I leave, I'm always just in awe of what has been able to be created. So honestly, I get to be emotional and I get to be, hug and really, because I'm not in charge of running it. People say, you did such a good job. I'm like, I know. It's hard to be Jamie Valvano, and meanwhile, I have nothing to do with anything except for being there to support their efforts. And really, as you said, Rob, it's like, I'm in awe of it. As I hear the story, even though I've lived it and I've been here for the 30 years, I'm in complete awe of it. I get chills. I have to pinch myself as I meet somebody who, as Nate said, who's been a part of our organization for 20 years, supporting our event in Napa. It's like, how do I thank that person? How do I let them know how much I appreciate them? So the energy is just in abundance, and I just let it flow through me. It's not something that I even have to fake. I do have to come home and like lay down for like 3 days afterwards because I am just it's so emotional in such a amazing way. And I know I'll take videos and I'll send it home to my sisters and my mom and my uncles and just say, can you believe this? Can you believe how Austin is celebrating what we're doing or welcoming us, or Phoenix, or I'm just in awe. I'm in awe of all of these people who come out in these different communities and walk alongside of us. So it's for me, I have the best job in the world there, and that is to enjoy, celebrate, meet people, and then share really the reason why we're there, and to share our mission and to let you know that cancer research does save lives. And we are experiencing victories every single day. And so, what an honor and a privilege it is for me to be able to communicate that to our attendees.
That was so well said, and really, just you basically approach it as I get to be here, not I have to be
Yes,
here. And that mindset is a huge difference.
yes.
Now, when you get to be here and you're on adrenaline for 2 days, yes, you are going to crash. So I mean that's part of it. But I love your mindset, because your mindset was every single thing you said was I get to be here, not I have to be here. And that makes a huge difference.
Agreed. It agreed. Yes. And I just let Nate and everybody else worry about everything. I just show up when they tell me where to go and I say, okay, I'm there. And the people, I can't say it enough. Nate will tell you it becomes a community and a family and a reunion. And so the spirit of celebration is already infused. We don't have to do anything to create it.
Well, and Jamie does such a good job of like connecting with those people. And as you talked about, Rob, just like one of the best keynotes you could imagine for our organization, because of that personal connection that is just amazing to have. And then she also is there throughout the entire weekend too. So she was there at Sunrise Yoga too before before that day on the Four Seasons lawn before she gave that keynote speak a little bit later in the day.
Yes.
That's amazing. And, Nate, tease a little bit about what guests can expect at this year's Napa Wine Celebration.
Of
Mm.
course. So the wine celebration will be July 30th through August 2nd. And it's 3 days of just amazing food, wine, people, and supporting a great cause. So that first night, we call it Dinner with the Docs. It's where you're able to connect with a researcher or someone from our scientific advisory committee in a smaller setting to really get to know them with the backdrop of some incredible wineries as well. And then the next day, the big thing is Friday night Rock the V, which is our kind of big community event where we have a ton of people at Bacchus Landing with great wine, some entertainment as well. That headliner will be announced soon. Last year was Aloe Black, which was a great person to have. And then Saturday is really the big day where we have this symposium with some of our top researchers talking about the impact that their research is having. And then the gala that evening at Nickel and Nickel, where we'll announce how many millions of dollars we raise that go directly to game-changing cancer research. And then a lot of stuff, a lot of other fun surprises along the way, but very much looking forward to that Napa Wine Celebration here this year.
That's amazing. And what I appreciate about you all is at the end of the night, you put on the screen how much you've raised.
Mhm.
I wish more organizations would do it because it shows everybody in the room they made a difference.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's some of the things too that we like to do too.
Yeah.
We have committees that help us really lead the charge in some of these areas, and we want to show appreciation for them too and the impact that they had from the committee, the people in the room, everyone. That they didn't just have an awesome time with great people, but that they raised a lot of money for cancer research.
Mhm.
Incredible. Incredible. And we're coming up on time. So I always like to end with kind of a fun little question. So we'll start with Nate and then Jamie, you get the last word. And that is, what do all great fundraising events have in common?
So for me, I think it's that balance of fun and mission behind it too. Jamie actually mentioned one of my favorite quotes from Jim's speech, where it's think, laugh, cry, and you had a darn good day if you can do all of those. And that's really what we try to do. We want people to think about the cancer research that they had, laugh along with it too while they're having fun. Uh, Cry, maybe not cry, but feel emotion
Yeah.
when they're doing it to really help make an impact for that event. So I know when we had a successful event, when I do feel like we had that balance between fun and mission for people to truly take Jim's words and think, laugh, and cry.
Mhm.
Beautifully said. Jamie, you get the last word.
I think you ended it better, Nate. I mean, come on. I'm going to say connection for me
Yeah.
is really key because when I can walk away and know that I've connected with an individual or a donor, and also for our attendees to really feel, like being out there doing the sunrise yoga was so fun, and to talk to the people that were there with me, and then to go to a different event and a venue and get to meet with the doctors and all that. You want your attendees to walk away and feel like they are now a part of your organization, your mission, and your purpose. And so, that's the second part of also just having a great time. Obviously, we want them to have fun and laugh, but we also want them to leave knowing that, as you said, when they see that number that is, is on the screen at the end, that they know this is what we've done, this is who we've impacted, and that because of this, people are going to sit across, just as I did, from a doctor, and they're going to hear not that they have a disease, but they're going to hear, and here's what we're going to do to save your life. And here's what we're going to do so you're a survivor and a thriver. And that's what it's all about. When you leave our events, we want you to know that you have indeed made a difference and that your efforts have saved lives. And so if you can leave feeling connected to our purpose, then we have gone and done what we intended to do.
Perfect mic drop moment. That was the perfect thing to end on. I love how your answers complemented each other because it's about connecting not just with the mission but also with the people, because
Yes.
that's what the people is what provides the longevity. So this was so much fun. I hope you two come back again as guests because I had a blast chatting with you, and you've got 7 other events. So you all are welcome anytime to talk
Thank
about any of
you.
them. This was just so much fun.
We
Thanks for
can't wait
having
to
us,
see
Rob.
you at one of our events soon.
Can't wait to be there. And the Napa Wine Celebration, benefiting the V Foundation, will be held from July 30th through August 2nd, 2026, in Napa, California. For more information, please visit v.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.